Canadian restricted and non-restricted possessions and acquisitions license instruction in the Parkland. The risks versus instructional safety. We are Real Conversations Podcasts, and I'm Tamara Michelle. This podcast is recorded in the Parkland and produced in Dauphin, Manitoba. Today, we meet with certified firearms safety instructor Henrik Langer to discover more on the discussion of ignorance and instructional safety for the licensing requirements of restricted firearms in Canada. Thank you to our show sponsors, Bankert Marketing, Dr. Brenna and Three Graces Medispa, Real Security Solutions, Roofs, Furniture and Appliances of Dauphin, Oil Depot of Dauphin, Tri-Family Health, Beauty and Fine Gifts of the Paw, Ramsey's Health and Fitness of Dauphin, Cloud9 Canna Supplies of Dauphin, and Hearts to Nature Fine Art Nature Photography.
Okay, now do the exit move with the handgun. Yes. Really hard, you can't break it, Go, give her! There you go. Now she removed it. This would have been an empty case maybe, but she removed all ammunition now. The final bullet just flew out. Okay, now, you want to make it easier, you put an empty magazine in it, and pull it back again, the slide, and now drop the magazine again. Push that little button to the side. That's a little trick if the handgun is really hard to put the slide back.
So welcome, Henrik, to Real Conversations Podcast, and welcome. Today I'm interviewing Henrik, and he is what is your title actually, Henrik?
The title is I'm a Canadian firearm safety instructor for non-restricted and restricted.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
I teach the firearm safety courses,
Yep.
the PAL courses.
Right, yes. And of course, there's been lots of interest and controversy, not about the courses, but about handguns and that sort of thing recently with politics and the news. So with that being said, I wanted to enroll in the restricted firearms course after going to Range Day, which was that June 4th?
June 4th, yes.
Yeah. And I had an opportunity to shoot some handguns, some rifles, long rifles, and it was actually just, for me, it was just a wonderful experience. And what I discovered was that when you're with people that know what they're doing and they are good teachers, patient, things aren't so scary. That's the thing that I really took away from Range Day, and that really propelled me to want to take the restricted firearms course because I have my PAL from last year. So we did that today. We actually went through the whole process, and I just feel so much better. I was able to pass,
Yes.
I wasn't with perfect grades, but I was able to pass and under your tutelage. And, it was a long day. It was a full 8-hour course, including, the exam time and, a little bit of conversation in between. And with that, do you want to walk us through, because you would be able to describe it better, what exactly that entails for those that are interested in taking either an unrestricted or restricted firearms course?
So, okay, let me put it this way. If you want to buy a firearm, own, or use a firearm in Canada, you need the non-restricted or restricted firearm safety course. You have to pass that first. That means the non-restricted means long guns. You always say long rifle. It's long guns.
Okay.
It's fine. So you take an 8-hour course through me, have to listen to me talking for 8 hours, explaining gun safety, history of firearms, firearm safety, ammunitions, what kind of ammunitions there are, care of firearms, and then most important, how to store, transport, and display them if you wanna put them on the wall. It's pretty straightforward. It's straight to the point. Most important thing is this one here. You know what that means?
Trigger finger.
Trigger finger must stay out of the trigger guard and off the trigger, because if people tell you their gun went off by accident, tell them, no, you're full of yourself, because a firearm is not made to go off by itself unless it's really very badly malfunctioning. Yeah, and then you take this course through me, and if you want to buy a handgun, you have to take another course, the restricted firearm safety course, which means you have to listen to me again, to the sometimes even the same jokes, and you can take it back to back if you want to. I sometimes offer them. So that teaches you again the history of firearms, of handguns, the two actions. Remember the actions?
Yes, the two actions were, I think it's, I have to think about this for a second. So there's semi-automatic and revolver.
Revolver,
Thank
correct.
you. I have to think about, it's really interesting because there's different actions for the long guns.
Exactly. You have six actions for long guns.
When you did that, I really had to think about it for a second.
And then for handguns, you have like two that are allowed in Canada: semi-automatic and revolver. And then again, like you learn safety, keep your finger. Most importantly, keep the finger off the trigger. Make sure that it's safe, that there's nothing in the chamber, that the feeding path / the magazine is clear, and
always pointing the muzzle in a safe direction.
In a safest available direction. That is always interesting. In a safe direction, safest available direction. And that's pretty much, if you follow all these safety rules, that you point the firearm in the safest available direction, remove all ammunition, observe the chamber, verify the feeding path, examine the bore. If you take it out for the first time, take a quick peek. Mm-hmm. All you have at the end is a piece of metal, piece of plastic, or wood. That's all that is. Mm-hmm. And guns are not dangerous.
And I think that's interesting because I think, so before I did range day, before I did the restricted firearms course, even when I had done the PAL, there was some trepidation on my part because I grew up around guns in the aspect that I had uncles that hunted. My dad doesn't hunt, but my uncles, grandfathers, they all hunted. My brother would go out. I never went. I never had an interest when I was younger, but I had a respect. You know, we were taught that we were not allowed to touch or even look at that stuff. We'd see them using them, and we just kind of stayed out of the scene. Like that was what kind of we were taught, just to stay away as young kids. So I'm grateful that my family had taught me that much. What I found was that by learning about them and by immersing yourself in the language, I call it gun language or firearm language, it decodes that curiosity. It decodes it's not the wonder, because I think they're very interesting. Because, especially for sport, if that's something that you're interested in, but the fear of safety or the fear that they're dangerous. And that's what I really learned, being able to handle the handguns in the course today, especially the fact that when you pick them up, and of course, keeping in mind that the guns that you have are, they're
deactivated. That means they wouldn't be able to fire off a live round if you would put one in there. And all the ammunition that we used, that's actually every firearms instructor in Canada has to do the same thing. The course is, by the way, the same all over Canada. It's a federal thing. Yeah. So if you take it here or in Newfoundland or whatever, it's always the same course. But the ammunition is deactivated because that way you prevent accidents. Yeah.
And I had learned that in the first course, in the unrestricted course, or non-restricted.
Non-restricted.
Is it non-restricted? That ammunition in itself is actually the most dangerous part of the gun, because that's what has the gunpowder. That's what has
the explosive stuff. Yeah. That stuff that gets hot. That stuff that explodes. Yeah.
So I guess that's what I want to say as being a student, of the craft. That when you understand more, and then you have a respect for the rules, for the safety, for everyone around you, right? It's very easy to absorb and understand if you have an interest in it. Like I was actually riveted. I mean, I know I didn't get my 100% that I would have liked, but I mean,
you got 100% only in the test.
I think it was like 85. I think 86. So I didn't do too badly.
Still good. You passed.
Still good. And then what I thought was interesting, that even the questions, if there was questions that we got wrong, you took the time to go through the exam with us after and say, so what did you not understand about this? So what is the correct? What is the correct answer?
And
so
some people are like reading too fast. That's the most common thing. Like, for example, it is legal to store a loaded firearm in your home. True.
It's illegal.
It's illegal.
Yes. Right. So it's like
stuff like this happens, and sometimes it's trivial things like what is pictured here, and the copy, the print is extremely small. Everybody gets the benefit of the doubt sometimes. And what you mentioned there with safety and this being around firearms, when you said you were told to stay away from firearms, and actually I always tell my students, if you have uninformed people in your household, don't make this firearm or especially children, don't make a firearm, if you have one, this dangerous magic thing that you're not supposed to touch.
Yeah.
Because you know how it is when you're a kid. You were a kid. I was a kid. One time even I was a kid.
I have a few memories of matches. Yes.
Yeah. I have a few memories. I learned left from right from the pocket knife I wasn't supposed to touch. Now I have a scar. Mm-hmm. Don't touch that pocket knife. It's dangerous. Don't touch that pocket knife. Can I leave you alone? Yes, of course you can leave me alone, Mom. I'm a big boy.
Yeah. I hear you.
Off to the emergency room. Mm-hmm. If somebody would have told me how boring pocket knives are, nothing would have happened. So I'm telling my students, like, take this edge away from it. Like, just, you know what? Don't touch it, but here's how it works.
Yes.
This is what you got to do. Be safe around them. Because if uninformed people or untrained people see, like, oh, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
You take the interest away from it, like, or the danger away from it, because it is really, if you unload the firearm and if you if you treat it properly, all you have is a piece of metal, piece of wood or plastic.
Yeah. And then I think is interesting too, all the rules for storage and how many locks you have, especially on the handguns. Everything's locked all the time unless you have it in your care.
In your hand, pretty much, yeah.
Yes, physically. I mean, even, and I'm thinking back to the non-restricted course, even when you hand your long gun to someone else that you're hunting with because you need to climb over a fence or climb under a fence, you have to ax and prove. You have to check it. You have to make sure there's no ammunition
because
in it.
As soon as you touch, if I'm giving you my firearm, as soon as, it doesn't matter who paid for it. It's your firearm. Whatever happens with that is your responsibility.
Yeah.
Or if you give me yours. So I have to make sure that I'm giving you that either
an innate object,
in your presence that I'm showing you here, this is the firearm is unloaded. Please hold it for me. I got to go behind the bush. And when I'm back, give it back to me. Yeah. I don't know if you're the person who puts bubble gum into my chamber.
Yeah, everyone's supposed to check.
Plays a prank on me. So I check it again.
Yeah.
So just to make sure, because we don't want accidents. This is what it's all about. We don't want any unintentional damage.
And accountability, which I thought was really cool, because the onus is always on you. It's always on you 100% of the time. As soon as you're around a gun and you have a license, the onus is always on you.
Yes.
And so anytime, you don't even take a gun until you say, can you check it, please?
Yes.
Like you don't even accept a gun from someone unless you've seen them go through it, and then they can give it to you, and then you go through it. So it's always the onus is on you. And I think it's really kind of marvelous in a way in the forethought that was put into the safety program. So I have to say, I really like that. What is the difference between this and the United States?
In the United States, there's first of all, the Canadian Firearms program is federal. In the States, it's, what is it called?
By states?
By state.
Yep.
And some states have this, some states have that regulations. And here in Canada, you can go to Saskatchewan, buy stuff there, and come back. And nobody stops you it's all the same. And then some states don't even have any training procedures. You can just go there. Are you over 18? Yes. Here's a firearm. People never used one before. They watched movies. And this is what this person in Texas did there. He was 18. Yeah. He went to the gun shop or to a store. I don't know where he got. He bought a firearm. He got ammunition, and he went on a rampage. What did you do when you turned 18 in Canada? What was your first stop? Don't tell me liquor store.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
But see, like in Canada, like, oh, I'm 18. Hey, let's go to the LC.
Yeah. But an LC, I mean, that being said, there are still dangers with drinking.
Yeah, of course.
We all know.
It was just an example.
But that being said, like, you know, we don't have access to that. And you do have to go through all of these.
You take the course.
Yes. So then tell me what happens after we take the course. So I've taken the course today. I've passed.
Yes.
But I don't have a license, and I'm not authorized to have a handgun, use a handgun.
Only because you pass it doesn't mean that you can go to a gun shop and buy one.
Yeah.
So what you got to do now, you take your paperwork, 6 pages. You have to give personal information. You have to give information if you're married. It's for the RCMP. If you have a spouse or a common law, because they have to sign off. They have to allow you, if you want to say it, they have to approve that you are allowed to get a firearms license.
Almost give permission. They have
give permission. Yeah. And this is to prevent maybe to prevent it as early as possible, domestic violence. If somebody has like temper issue, that the spouse can say, no, I don't want you to have one.
Yeah.
Then spouse signs off. You have to have two references, two people who know you for more than 2 years, to sign off, yes, this person is capable of handling
healthy and safe.
Healthy and safe, and not a crook, not a criminal. Then you have to then you have to tell them, yes, I haven't committed a crime ever in your life. They just changed it last year from 5 years back now to your whole life. Anything that was related with firearms, with violence,
Assault, I think.
assault. If you have a history of, like, if you were ever admitted for suicide, or if you ever was admitted for depression or something, because that way, the RCMP,
they're keeping the guns out of the hands of people that are more vulnerable.
Because suicide is actually the number one death or injury that is caused by firearms in Canada.
Okay.
So we're not the States here. It's not like Wild West. It's really. And then,
it's very monitored.
Yes.
Hey?
Then you fill this out, and then you 6 pages, and then you mail it in to Miramichi, Nova Scotia. Gets there, sits there on a pile. I always picture them getting baskets full of letters and pouring them into a room.
Like the passport office. Right? Yeah.
And then they put you on a pile for 3 months. They let it linger there. So then after 3 months, they look at it. They might call, not all the time. They might call your spouse. They might call your references, the people that vouch for you.
You said that's quite common. That
is quite common,
You've heard many people have the references phoned or their spouse.
Yes. Okay, you pass this, then you get your firearms license. It might take, depending on how backlogged they are.
Yeah.
During COVID, they were insanely backlogged.
Yeah.
Might take 6 months.
Yeah.
Could be 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. Then you get a card in the mail.
Yeah.
Then you can go and buy your first firearm, either from a store or from a private person.
And then there's still a process.
There's still a process. Like for long guns, it's fairly easy. But now they put something in between. You have to get a reference number, where you enter your PAL number and the PAL number of the person who sells it to you. And then you can. It used to be like, you have PAL, I have money. I have money. You have gun. I have PAL. You have PAL. Let me see. Okay, here's gun.
And it was an exchange.
Nobody needs to know about this. This is the non-restricted part about it.
But a handgun's completely different.
It's complicated. A handgun. First of all, buying one.
Yeah.
You have to transfer ownership because handguns in Canada are registered to the owner. And they have a little card with them that has their name and their registration number on it, and they're tied to your name. So let's say I want to sell you a handgun. We have to initiate a transfer. That means I call the RCMP, say I want to sell my firearm to Tamara, and then, okay, they verify all my PAL information, and then they say, okay, I give you a reference number. Then you have to call the RCMP with that same reference number, tell, yes, I have a PAL, they verify everything. Then they initiate a transfer. That means they start this unregistering from me and putting it in your name.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you can take the gun home right away.
Right.
You technically can.
Yeah.
But I'm always saying, just wait until you have
get the paperwork for transfer.
For transfer.
Because then again, transferring a handgun is very strict.
Hang on, we're not done yet.
Yeah.
Then you get a letter in the mail. If you do it privately, if you buy a firearm at Cabela's or something, you get this initiation of transfer paper right away. That means now you can take it. Okay. You can take it home from the gun store, straight home, nowhere else.
Yeah.
Nowhere else.
Yeah. And store it appropriately.
We'll get to that in a bit too. But then after like a couple of weeks, you get your registration card in the mail, your registration paper. Now it's finally your handgun. It's in your possession. You can take it. Where can you take a firearm in Canada?
To the gun range.
Exactly.
Period.
Nowhere else. Without calling it in.
And the shortest distance.
The shortest distance.
You don't go to grandma's first. You go. It's like playing Monopoly. Do not stop.
Yeah,
do not collect $200.
Oh, you go straight to jail. No, but there's only 3 reasons why you can have a firearm in Canada, a handgun or not a restricted firearm in Canada. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
Tell me.
Yeah, you can only have a restricted handgun if you are doing it for sport. So that is to shoot at a gun range. The other one is if you are a collector, which is a very long process because not anyone can be a collector. And the third one is if you're in security or RCMP. And that's
RCMP doesn't need it, but CBSA, for example, they require that. They used to have it that you had to have your restricted firearm before you can apply. Now you can apply, and if you get accepted, Border Patrol, yes.
Okay.
And if you get accepted, then you have to take it. That takes a little bit of responsibility away from them, which is fine.
Yeah.
So those are the only reasons. Sport shooting, like target practice. Collector, you have to really prove to the chief firearms officer of your province that you are a legit collector, not like somebody, I just want to buy them and put them in the box under my bed or something.
Yeah.
And profession. So, okay, you can only go straight from the range home and from home to the range and back for practice. If you say you have a malfunction on your firearm and you want to take it to a gunsmith, you can't just say, shoot, it's not working, let's go. No, you have to call the RCMP for, what is it called? The ATT?
It's a transfer. It's a special transfer.
Authorization to transport. You have to ask pretty much for permission.
Yeah.
Or you have to tell the RCMP, hello, on that day, I'm moving my firearm from that spot to that spot on that day. They just want to know where every handgun is at any moment of time.
Yeah. And as a restricted gun owner, you have a lot of responsibility put on you for an accountability for that gun.
Yes.
And how it's being stored and
you have to store it locked in a locked container.
Yeah.
That means you have to have a lock on the firearm and you have to have it locked up.
Yeah.
With non-restricted firearms, you only have to have one lock. That means you put a trigger lock on it or you put it in a locked container.
Yeah.
Because you only need one lock between the firearm and the good guy, because locks only keep the bad people out.
Yeah.
And they only slow them down anyways.
Yeah.
But handguns are a little stricter. They just want to make it harder on them.
Yeah.
So
I guess in closing, Henrik, I just wanted to ask you, people maybe wanting to take some courses coming up. Do you have any courses coming up in the next, during the summer or?
The summer is always tricky because everybody's busy. Everybody's at the lake or seeding or working in the farm. Okay. I did this course actually as a favor because people are panicking because of the change in politics right now.
Yeah.
That they want to get their restricted firearms before handguns actually get the sale gets frozen. Mm-hmm. And stores are sold out anyways. Yeah. The government is actually the best firearms salesman of the year. But
unfortunately, in a way, but yeah, it's interesting.
What they tried to prevent was actually counterproductive because now there's more stuff out there. Anyways, but I usually start again in the fall.
Okay.
And I have a website, and you can actually sign up on my wait list there. I have a little setting there for wait list, and then as soon as I have something coming up, you either get a text message or an email to tell you about the time and place, and then you can say, hey, yes or no.
Okay.
So
for anybody who is interested in getting it could be your non-restricted or restricted.
Yes, but you need to have the non-restricted before you can get the restricted. How old do you have to be for the non-restricted? Remember?
12 years old.
12 years old. You can, as a 12-year-old.
You think I only got 85% or
86? You don't even know your score. No, but I'm kidding. No, you can be 12 years old. That's the minimum age. From 12 to 18, you only get the minor's license. Yeah. That means you can only use it. You can't own it officially, but it can be in dad's gun cabinet. And at the age of 18, you can transfer it to the grown-up, to the adult. PAL with you don't have to take the course again.
Okay.
So, and maybe there's somebody out there who took the course 10 years ago and lost their paperwork. Good news, you can still apply. The paperwork never expires. Just download a form, send it in. The RCMP knows that you took the course 10 years ago.
Okay. Well, like you said, everything is documented, right?
It's very well documented. Yeah. So.
Well, Henrik, I had a wonderful time in the course today. I learned so much. I'm excited to kind of go through that process of application for my restricted firearms license. So that's who knows, maybe 6 months down the road, I'll have it. I'll let you know when that happens. And for anybody that's interested, I will have that information up for you if you would like to take the course yourself. And thanks for taking the time to sit down and chat with us today and educate all of us a little bit more on firearms and firearm use and how we can learn more.
And it's really not rocket science, just follow basic common sense with it, so many things in life.
Okay.
What's my hair?
Oh, jeez.
Okay. Please pick up the semi-automatic handgun. What do you do when you pick it up?
Okay, so the first thing I do is I assume that it's loaded, and I control my muzzle direction, which is down range if I'm on the range. My trigger finger must be kept off the trigger, and it's got to be visible to everyone that is.
Out of the trigger guard.
Out of the trigger guard.
Doesn't have to be visible, it's just a good habit to do that.
Okay, and then I have to see that the firearm is unloaded. So now I have to prove that. So safest available direction, again, to point always. Remove all ammunition. So I'm going to check.
If you want to make absolutely sure, you would grab the slide and rack it several times. Do it again. Do it again. Now that would mean, now the gun, there's definitely nothing in there anymore. And just to make your life easier, because you want to have to slide back, and you do the rest, just pull it back one more time.
Okay.
And now drop the magazine. If you have your own gun, you get a hang of it. Just a little bit hard on this one. Okay, now keep going. You removed all ammunition now.
Okay, and I just want to verify that it's empty. So I'm going to look down, make sure that it's hollow for the feeding path, and then
The chambers.
chamber, and then I can look down the bore. Correct? Okay, so that looks.
Because that's the very last step. The gun there's nothing in it. You remove the ammunition.
Right.
You make sure there's nothing in the chamber and there's nothing in the feeding path. So examine the bore is technically a very safe step. Okay, now tell me, what ammunition is this firearm designed to use?
I'm going to check on the side.
What is it called?
What is it called?
No, what is that thing?
The barrel.
No, not the barrel. What is this thing called that you gotta look for?
What do I have to look for? The identification for the bullets. Right?
Yeah, well, what do you call this? Data stamp.
Oh.
Data stamp. That's what
Okay,
you
so data stamp, which is
Okay.
on the side of the barrel.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna read that. Jeez, I'm gonna need glasses soon. So it's.
40 Smith & Wesson. It's hard to read.
Oh, you know what? Sorry, it says S&W. I was actually looking for full writing.
Oh, okay. But S&W
So it says
is
40 S&W.
S&W. Okay.
Okay.
Please load it with 2 rounds of the correct ammunition and chamber 1 round. You can put the gun down for that. Okay. How do you identify ammunition?
It'll be on the, well, this will be on the rim.
The head stamp.
Head stamp.
Yes.
So it says 40 S&W.
So that's
Does
the
that
one.
sound right?
Looks
That's
like
the one?
it.
Okay.
Now you grab the magazine.
Sorry.
Yes.
40 S&W. Okay.
Now you grab the magazine and the little like thing and you load it. And it's always, if you put it on the table, it's always facing towards the end of the barrel.
Okay.
So,
Right.
exactly. Look at that natural talent here.
Well, I was at the range day.
Yeah,
I did get a little bit.
Okay, now you're gonna pick up the gun again. Very good trigger discipline. Now put the magazine in. Good.
Okay.
And now chamber 1 round. You can do it either way. You can either pull back the slide or just push this button down.
Okay, so this is the button I would push?
Yes. No, sorry. This one here, sorry, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
And now you wanna put the safety on. This is the hammer is back now. Now push this button down.
This one?
Yes. Now the hammer is forward, hammer is down.
So this is safe.
Now the gun would be safe.
Okay.
Squeeze the trigger, shoot it. Now cock the hammer because, rack the gun 1 time, just rack it. Pretend you took 1 shot.
Okay, so that's the.
That would be the empty case that would fly out. Now the hammer is actually cocked, it cocked itself. This is the double action.
So now it's ready to go again.
It's ready to go again. Now squeeze the trigger.
Okay.
Feel the difference of trigger pull?
Yes.
That is the safety part of it.
Okay.
And now, rack it again. Okay, now your magazine will be empty. You finished everything. Now you can drop the magazine. And do what? What is it called?
Oh, so then I do my verifying with the apps. So I assume it's loaded, control the muzzle direction, trigger finger again, off of the trigger guard, and see that the firearm is unloaded, which it is, the magazine is out. I would put down there. And verify. It's empty.
Okay, now put it down.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, it's much easier when you handle it.
Dr. Brenna and Three Graces MediSpa has been inspiring love, confidence, and health and humanity since 2019. Dr. Brenna's skin therapists have the advanced knowledge required to revitalize and rejuvenate your skin. Radiofrequency, microneedles, chemical peels, and Oxygen Neo superfacials are just a couple of the treatments we offer. To learn more about Dr. Brenna and Three Graces MediSpa, visit our website at threegraces.ca or call us at 204-572-5774 for a free consultation. A special thank you to Bankert Marketing for audio and video syncing. Thank you to our show sponsors, Bankert Marketing, Dr. Brenna and Three Graces MediSpa, Real Security Solutions, Roofs, Furniture and Appliances of Dauphin, Oil Depot of Dauphin, Tri-Family Health, Beauty and Fine Gifts of the Paw, Ramsey's Health and Fitness of Dauphin, Cloud9 Canna Supplies of Dauphin, and Hearts to Nature Fine Art Nature Photography. Like and subscribe on YouTube at Tamara Michelle. See you next week.